I'm Jamie O'Kane, CPA, Small Business Advanced Tax Planning and Compliance Extraordinaire, and this is the Abundant Beans Podcast, the podcast that takes my love for learning what makes people tick while digging into the good, bad, and ugly of small business ownership. We strive to give you the insight that only those in the trenches of being and working with entrepreneurs can provide.
Position to offer some wisdom, i.e. lessons learned from other people's lives.
Yeah.
About people's learning process on their own.
Think of some of the more pervasive ones. Like every business owner is so different.
Sure. Or an interesting one too, right? Even if it's not necessarily pervasive.
An interesting one. So I can talk about like a price increase. So okay. I had a client who does services. And he took on this business and kept the pricing structure because he was very, very afraid to raise prices. He lives in a very high cost of living, or the business is in a very high cost of living area. And the prices were not commensurate with that. And he had people driving 2 or 3 hours to come to him for this service.
Wow.
And they were booked, like fully booked. I think he worked like 6 a.m. to 7 p.m. every day. Wow. Like his hours were out of control.
Yeah.
Especially for this service. It's a hands-on person by person service. So I convinced him to do a significant price raise. Not as much as I wanted him to do, but he did most of it.
Baby steps.
I said, even if you lost 20%, and I sat down with him and I said, even if you lost 20% of your clients, at this new price, you'd be making more money.
Sure.
In less time, right? And he was just like, okay. So he did it. And he calls me 2 weeks later. He's like, I've been home for dinner every single day this week. I was like, did you lose any clients? And he's like, one person mentioned it. He's like, but they're still coming. Like, wow. And I was like, you didn't raise it high enough.
I know. I was going to say.
I was like, that's
first thought, congratulations. Second thought.
Well, next, do it again. Let's do it again in 6 months or whatever, right?
Yep.
Today my biggest pet peeve are, I would say people. So there's that phrase, fake it till you make it, right? I think there's a difference between faking it till you make it and misrepresenting yourself until you make it.
I like that.
I would say misrepresentation until you make it is not the way to go. Faking until you make it, probably the way to go.
Yeah, so. I think those are totally different things.
Yeah, totally.
Right?
Yeah, no names or whatever, but had an appointment this morning and, we're doing this podcast to help entrepreneurs and small business owners and people get their stuff up and running.
This is what we love to do.
Well, love to do it, and ran into a new real estate broker kind of 2 days into the industry, very excited to kind of go.
Love a little baby real estate broker.
And it's so exciting. The energy is just incredible and just totally clueless. And, not that I'm the be all end all of Denver real estate, but I've been doing this a little bit. And she just misrepresented herself in such a bad way.
Yeah.
It was just like, wow, you're going to need some help.
Daily pet peeve. Yeah. It's hard, and as we go into, like, for our firm, as we go into a new niche,
right.
People ask us all the time, how many veterinary practices do you have? I'm like, full disclosure, I have 3.
Yeah.
And it's great. And I'm loving it. And I'm happy I picked this niche, but I'm not going to pretend like I know more than I do, but I'm going to figure it out.
And what's wrong with being the first? Right.
Everybody starts somewhere.
Oh, by the way, here are my references.
But I've been working with businesses for the last 18, almost 2 decades.
You know what you're doing.
I do.
Yeah.
So then I've done it so many wrong ways, right? So I've built it up because I had seats and I got to put butts in them because it looks good. And then they don't, and I'm like, wait a minute. So what actually finally worked is I focused on the fact that we have a very unique culture in the branch and at the company, and that you can train people how to sell stuff. You can't change people's personality, and you can't change their own culture they're coming in with. And so when I focused more on, all right, are we going to be a good fit? Do I want to come to the office and see you every day?
Yeah, do I like you?
Yeah, as the basis. Then it's like, all right, now it's easier for me. And it's probably all selfish. I'm very selfish.
No, it's not.
It's more like, I'm that much more invested into your success if I like you.
Right.
Right. Yeah. So that doesn't really answer your question, but there's so many people that are out there like moving around. It's a very transient business. Mm-hmm. And so I realized if I'm recruiting somebody and they're like, yeah, it sounds great, let me come on board. If it's too easy, you're probably not the right fit. Like, make me try.
That's interesting.
Which surprises me because my wife said yes right away when I asked her. So maybe no, she's high rage.
So when you know both those places both really help identify your place of purpose. And what matters most to you. So then at that point, we just kind of start creating processes around doing more of what matters most to you and really pinching off and doing less of that limiting belief. Which, by the way, audience, I'm not sure if you know this, but my limiting belief is that I'm not worth being seen or heard. So I'm just telling you right now that I'm here because I trust this girl, and because I'm pushing past that limiting belief that I'm actually able to be seen and heard. And in that, I get to be part of family and community.
So that actually feeds into my final question, which is, what is the one marketing thing that every business owner should be doing, in your opinion?
All right, the one marketing thing. So here's where I try to advise people when they're looking at, how do I decide how am I going to do my marketing? Where do I spend my money on my marketing? How do I make these decisions in time, right? And so what I think you should start with is the things that you own versus the things that you rent.
Right.
So those are two different marketing assets. Mm-hmm. So the things that you rent are things like Facebook and Instagram and all these social sites, right? Because should we be doing that? Sure, but that's rented space. Understand that you're using that under a terms of use.
They could just wipe it out anytime.
That could be destroyed at any moment. Mm-hmm. So the things that you actually own that belong to you are your website. Mm-hmm. You own that. So invest in that. Make that what it needs to be. The second thing you own is your email list.
Right.
You own that. That database is yours. So if you don't have something in place for building that and nurturing that and using that, that's where you can start. So start with what you own: website, email list, and really the third thing that you own is your brand. Mm-hmm. Who you are, what's the value that you bring to your customers and clients. Mm-hmm. So what can you do to build your value, to increase your value in the services that you provide to your clients?
To be more unique.
Yeah. How do you stand out from the competition and do that? So that's where you should start. Start with what you own.
So website.
Dial that stuff in.
It's really basic.
Yep.
At this point.
And then go, okay, now that I've got the assets that are most important, how can I add on that helps me build these and improve these?
Awesome. Thank you, Peter.
Thank you, Jamie.
Thanks for being here.
Awesome. High five. Woohoo.
Hey, y'all. Thanks for listening. If you found this podcast to be inspiring, helpful, and entertaining, please like and subscribe. This helps us grow the community and reach more people. If you are interested in learning more about this episode's guest or accessing any of the books or other resources mentioned in this episode, be sure to check out the description box below. Until next time, be abundant. Thank you so much for listening or watching. Be sure to subscribe on YouTube, iTunes, or wherever you prefer to listen. If you learned something and found some useful information to apply to your business today, please consider giving us a thumbs up and a review. Until next week, be abundant.